Good morning YouTube and welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports with another football video, and today's video is about fantasy auction drafts and how to get the best bang for your buck in a $200 limit league. So most auction drafts on NFL.com or Yahoo or wherever have a $200 limit, and the goal is to get as many good players as you can while bidding on them against the other people in your league. And you need to bid on these players without going over a $200 limit. And eventually, if you run out of money, then you can only spend $1 per player. And I'm going to explain today how I go about drafting in auction drafts so that you don't end up with only paying $1 per player at the end, and you can still get a really balanced team even if you don't have a bunch of stud players. And then I'm going to show you an example of a draft that I got in a draft simulation and show you the different tactics that I used along the way. So let's get for the purposes of the video. I put step 1, step 2, step 3, but they're not really in any particular order. These are just things that I would make sure that you do when you're drafting your team. So first, make sure you have at least one elite player. You get $200 to use, so use them wisely. Each elite skill player will be between $55 and $70. Some will be cheaper, some will be more expensive. Christian McCaffrey can go for $70. Some other running backs can go for over $60. My suggestion is to get Michael Thomas. He is the best receiver in the game by far. He had the second most points in the league last year for fantasy, and he only cost me $60, which is expensive, but it's cheaper than a lot of the running backs you can get that might be less productive than him. So Michael Thomas and Christian McCaffrey would be the only two I'd suggest because they're the best bang for your buck. If you overpay for these two, it's okay. If you overpay for the other elite players, then that could hurt you because they're not going to get you as much bang for your buck. Without a top running back or wide receiver, you will not win. You need a top running back or wide receiver. So I'm telling you right now, if you're doing an auction league, you need to get Christian McCaffrey or Michael Thomas, even if the cost is $65 or $70, because they will help you ginormously in the long run, and that could be very beneficial to your team. Next is never nominate a player that you want, or at least don't do it in the first 5 rounds. So basically what I mean by this is there are a lot of people even in your regular leagues, not just in mock drafts, but in regular leagues, will be on auto draft. And what the auto drafts do is whoever is put up for bid, they take that player and they bid over the estimated amount. They bid way too high on them. So if you want to get a player, then you don't want to nominate them until the auto drafts have used all of their resources and they can't bid you up anymore. The auto drafts are the most annoying piece of doing an auction draft, and it's awful. So what I say is try and get as few of the top players as you can picked. Pick top players that you yourself would never actually want, so that other people will bid on them, waste all their money, and then you can get the players that you actually want. This is just my strategy. I know there are different ways of doing it, and I know that some people might think this is a foolish way of doing it, but that's my strategy. Because if you nominate someone that you want and then they're overbid, then you're going to get hurt. But if you nominate someone that you don't want at all and they get overbid, then you're hurting everyone else. So that's my suggestion as far as nominating players. Don't nominate someone that you want. Nominate someone you would never pick for the price range that they are asking. Next is don't try to get a standard looking team. A lot of people go into auction drafts, or they might go into auction drafts trying to get, okay, I'm going to get 1 first round pick, 1 second round pick, 1 third round pick, just like a standard draft. But that's not always going to work, because if you get a first round, a second round, and a third round pick in your draft, like what's the equivalent in a regular draft, then you could end up paying over $100 on those 3 players. And yes, I know that in my example later that I'm going to show you, I did pay $100 for over $100 for 3 or 4 players, but you could be paying $120, $130 for 3 players. If you pay $60 for your top player, which I do suggest you do, and then you pay $50 for another player, that's $110. And then your third round player, you're getting for $30. You could pay $140 of your $200 on just 3 players. So if you get a first round talent, I don't suggest getting a second round talent. You can easily get a third round talent for a cheaper price, but do not get a second round talent, because if you do, then that will decrease your budget by $100 in 2 players, and that's not worth it. An ideal first rounder, ideally I would get a first rounder and then a bunch of 4th and 5th round picks. Because if you get, for example, if you get a first, a 4th, and 2 5ths, that's better than getting a first, a second, and 2 8ths, and then having the rest of your picks be 8ths. Whereas if you get a first and then a bunch of 4ths and 5ths, then you can spread out your money much more evenly and have a very mediocre to good team than have some amazing and terrible teams. Because if one of your amazing players gets injured, then your season will be over. Next, get your quarterback for cheap. Quarterback is an important position, but they also can come really cheap in these drafts. Just like in regular drafts, you can get amazing quarterbacks in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounds even. So if you get your quarterback after other players have run out of money, a top quarterback will be yours for cheap. An example of this is I got Lamar Jackson in the draft I'm going to show you at the end, but I also ended up getting Russell Wilson later on. I had picked up Lamar Jackson because I was like, oh, I'll just get Lamar Jackson because I got him for cheaper than I thought I would get him for. But then later on in the draft, I ended up being able to get Russell Wilson for just $10. And I thought that there was no way I could pass up on having Russell Wilson as a backup quarterback, or possibly as a trade bartering player, when I could literally pick him up for $10. That's 1/20th of my budget, which is less than the average price per player. And he's a backup quarterback. And I thought this is an amazing steal. And I don't know how anyone wouldn't end up with an amazing quarterback in one of these leagues. So wait until later, hope that no quarterbacks are picked, because auto drafts will go in order, so they won't pick quarterbacks. So hope that no quarterbacks are nominated, and just save your money for a quarterback, and you'll be able to outbid everyone else. Because they do come cheap, and it will be a very good investment for you. Never go on auto draft. If you're on a mock draft or on a regular draft at all, never go on auto draft. If you auto draft your team even for a round, you could get completely screwed over. Auto draft is fine and dandy for a normal draft, but in an auction draft, it could be your demise. The computer is not intelligent and doesn't know how to save its money, is basically what I'm saying. If you are on auto draft, then your computer could very well get the first 2 players, spend $120 on 2 players, leave you with $80 for the rest of your team, and then you're almost guaranteed to be screwed. You'll end up with 2 star players, and the rest will be terrible. Is basically how it's going to go. You've got a star running back, you've got a star wide receiver. You might be able to get a good quarterback, but then for the next 12 players on your team, you're going to be averaging $5 per player. So the rest of your team, you're either going to need to wait until the end to get junk, or you're going to nominate junk and hope that nobody bids on it. And that's not a good situation to be in. So if you're doing a league with a auction draft system and you go on auto draft, get off immediately. Or make sure you can be there for the draft, because if you can't be there for the draft, your team is going to be trash and you're not going to do well in the season. So make sure that you never go on auto draft if you have an auction draft system for your league. And last but not least, the moment you've all been waiting for, this is the team that I concocted from a $200 league. So this is not the order that I drafted them in. The order you draft players in doesn't really matter, because you get different skill level players in different rounds. You can get a terrible player in the first round, or you can get an amazing player in the last round. It doesn't matter where you get them, it just matters how much you pay for them. So I paid $27 for my quarterbacks. I got Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson. In my opinion, the 2 best fantasy quarterbacks in the league besides Patrick Mahomes, for $27, which is barely a tenth of my budget. Next, I got 2 incredible running backs, James Conner and Chris Carson, both for pretty cheap. I got Michael Thomas for $60, which was my frivolous pickup, and I got Juju Schuster for 20 and DJ Moore for 14. DJ Moore, I think, is going to be one of the biggest sleepers this year for fantasy, because with Teddy Bridgewater at the helm, I think he's going to have an incredible season. Hunter Henry I got for $5. Not the best tight end in the world, but he will do. Harrison Butker and the Saints defense I got for $2 each. Harrison Butker was the most fantasy points kicker last year. The Saints defense was one of the highest defenses in the league last year. I got both of those for $2. That's a good deal. I got Russell Wilson for 10, as I mentioned earlier. Calvin Ridley for $5, which I think was an incredible deal. I got Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett for $14 total. My running backs are a little lacking, but my wide receivers on this team are electric. I got Michael Thomas, Juju Schuster, DJ Moore, Tyler Lockett, and Calvin Ridley. I mean, I got 4 wide receivers that are supposed to go before pick 40. Those are 4 wide receivers that are supposed to be in the first 5 rounds of your draft. And then I got Calvin Ridley on top of all of that, and he had an incredible season last year. So if you plan out your draft correct, I got an A draft grade from Yahoo Sports, by the way. That's why there's the A in the middle. If you plan out your draft correctly, you have a game plan, you know what you're going to do, and you know when to pick players and who to nominate at what times, then you'll have an amazing draft. And if you use the blueprint that I've explained, then you'll hopefully have a draft just like mine. My running backs, again, regardlessly, are a little lacking. I don't have any stars. I have Chris Carson, James Conner, Kareem Hunt, Ronald Jones, and Raheem Mostert. But between James Conner, Chris Carson, and Ronald Jones, I would say that my running back core is pretty strong. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you got a little bit out of it, and I think that my suggestions in this area are not found in certainty, but I think that they're pretty solid guesses and pretty solid suggestions. So I hope that you guys do take them. I hope that they help you, and I hope that your leagues go very well this season. So thank you all for watching. Please leave a comment below if you think that these suggestions are good, or if you're experienced in auction drafts and you disagree with me, please let me know too. If this video gets 5 likes, I will, because I only have 3 videos so far that have reached 5 likes. If this video gets 5 likes, then I will do a actual auction draft for a league, and I'll draft a team for a league with an auction draft to show you guys my actual draft. So if this video gets 5 likes, yes, just 5, then I'll do that. Make sure to like and subscribe to the video if you haven't already. Make sure to subscribe to my channel because I do post videos every day. I hope you guys enjoy my content because I do put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's a lot of fun for me to make. But it's also really enjoyable to see all of the amazing feedback I've been getting throughout the last 2 weeks. So thank you guys all so much for watching the video. I really do appreciate it. And as always, see you tomorrow. Peace out.